Welcome everyone. Matt from C2B here with one of our portfolio founders, Steve Heyman, founder CEO of Snow Owl. Welcome, Steve.
Thanks, Matt.
Why don't you give the people a quick intro to yourself, and we'll jump into it.
Sounds good. So my name's Steve Heyman. I have been doing internet startups now for almost 25 years. I've been a CTO at my most recent companies. I was co-founder and CTO of a company called Dynamic Signal. And then before that was a company called Adify. Before that, I was in various engineering roles along the way, and then started Snow Owl at the end of October of 2021. So I've been doing it for about 6 or 7 months here.
Awesome. And maybe 2 seconds on Snow Owl, Steve. What are you guys looking to do?
So Snow Owl, our goal is to simplify networking for developers. Networking is a very tricky and somewhat esoteric segment of the DevOps deployment world. Your typical developer, front-end guy, doesn't really know much about how load balancers work and how routing works and how traffic gets from here to there and how to set up routing rules. And so we aim to make that self-service for developers, that they can figure it out themselves without needing to go and read through 500 pages of AWS documentation to make it all work.
Great. Thank you, Steve. All right, we're going to get into it here. First question, what is the worst business idea that you've ever actually considered pursuing? And we'll call the threshold for that if you actually pitched it to somebody, even casually.
Let's see. So I had been working with a friend during the Obama years, and he made up this joke called Yo Obama, so fat. Like, the play on Yo Mama, so fat. And it's like, we could make a joke site. We should do it. So thought about it. Almost got to the point of saying, yeah, let's go talk to some buddies, see if we could just raise it, make a funny joke site. And it's like, yeah, no, it's not gonna go anywhere.
Were you, did you guys just realize that this was a bad idea, or were you talked out of it?
We realized that. Yeah. I think we had talked about it for maybe a week, and then he was going to register the domain name and all that. And then it's like, hey, what are we doing here? This is like, not that funny. It's not that funny. So
it makes a pretty good story though. I like it. All right. The next question for you, is there a business idea? And if so, what was it that you wish you had run with because somebody else did later and it took off?
Oh yeah, there was one. So back in maybe the early 2000s, I was going to build myself a drone, essentially, like an autopilot for RC helicopters. And I was doing all the math. This was the only time I didn't have a job from like 1990, probably 2000 to like 2021. So it was like the only time I wasn't fully working, full time. And I started researching how to put together autopilots for helicopters, how to make, altitude sensors and all those sorts of things. And I was going to build myself a primitive computer controlled drone. And then I got a job and I just never went with it. And, now the drone market's huge. So
yeah, at least, yeah, that's a pretty big one. All right. So we might not be sitting here today had you run with that. So.
Yeah. I mean, but technology wasn't quite ready either. Like lithium ion batteries were just being invented. So it might not have worked quite as well, but it would have been cool.
Yeah. Well, fair enough. All right. You obviously, as you mentioned at the top here, you are a repeat founder. So, I know with the new founder, there's kind of the plenty of naive optimism and enthusiasm where you hear the stories, but you don't really believe it. You know what you're getting yourself into. So what made you want to go back to the well?
So I like early stage companies. It's always been my sweet spot. I have the most fun of my career is that first 2 or 3 years. It's a lot of work. And, at this point, I'm not under the naive, delusions of grandeur. I know how hard it is. In fact, sometimes it's, I have to remind myself that this hard part, you get through it. I like building companies. I like solving problems, and I like finding ways to help other people. So that's why I, got drawn back in.
All right. Makes sense. Second question on that. Easier this time around, harder this time around? And if so, what is it about it that's easier or harder?
I'd say it's a mix of both. The last time we were coming right out of a sale, and the company that we sold to invested in us, so we had a much easier time raising money because we had all this institutional, clout from these investors. So we had a little more money than I decided to go with now. So that makes it a little harder. But I also think I know a lot more of how to do it right than that time, I think. So some of the experience makes me instantly see some of the pitfalls that I think we fell into, headlong the first time. As my co-founder, though, at that company used to say, we won't make the same mistakes we made last time, but we'll probably make just as many different ones. So we'll see. But at least I know kind of where it's, So
yeah, I think as long as the mistakes are less consequential this time around, then you're good.
Yeah, exactly.
Let's see. So this is maybe going to be applicable more so to your prior companies than your current one, but we're going to go with a couple of pet peeves here. Number one, customer pet peeve.
The angry customer who insists that we promised them something that we definitely didn't. And then as the engineering side, we end up having to deliver on a lot of those promises. So that's why it became my number one pet peeve.
Makes sense. Number one, hiring interview pet peeve. So this is the candidate behavior.
So basically someone who thinks they know everything backwards and forwards. And then when you put it to even the slightest test, they freak out that they don't know what you're asking them. This happens in engineering interviews where, do you know this language? Yes. Well, okay, let's do a little code in the language. And they say, oh, well, it's been since, grad school that I've had to use it.
I like it.
Yeah.
All right. And then last one, I don't know if this is applicable because I don't know if this is your first time spending time with VCs, and we might be your only one. So, hey, you know what? Be honest anyway. Number one VC pet peeve.
Well, I've spent a lot of time with VCs over the years. VCs who aren't straight with you. They tell you all sorts of nice things in the meeting, and then they drop you in an email. They don't even call you to give you the honest feedback about the company. It's just, it's like you spend a bunch of time and then an email and then that's it.
Yep. Makes sense. I see a theme here too. So it's for those listening, be honest with Steve and he'll be happy with you. All right. Okay. So this is one of my favorites always. What's the meanest and or funniest feedback on your company or product that you've received from anywhere? It could be customer, friend, whatever. It could be this company or a different one.
Yeah. So I'll do one for Snow Owl. So Snow Owl was not the first name of our company. We went with a name that I picked, which was Route If. I sent the name around only in text to a few people. And one guy wrote back, that's a terrible name. And I couldn't get back to him in time because I had to get all the paperwork ready for filing to, incorporate. And I finally got back to him and I said, what's wrong with the name? He's like, well, Route Elf is a stupid name for a company. Like, what do you mean Route Elf? He's like, well, yeah, you texted me Route Elf. And so it turns out certain fonts, the I looks like an L, right? In a sans serif font. So I thought we ended up changing the name, but I also thought it was a hilarious sort of and then once he said that, I couldn't stop thinking about it. So I just started calling,
I kind of like Round Elf, actually. I should have just gone with that.
Well, it was definitely once I started telling people about that, I got half the people said that's stupid. Your friend's right. And the other half said, yeah, you should just change it.
Yeah. Oh, all right. I guess you kind of have to go with what the masses but I may actually start referring to this as Round Elf behind the scenes. Awesome. All right. We're getting into we're going deeply personal on who is Steve, away from the startup world. First question, last meal request.
A big steak with a hot fudge sundae.
That's a good one. Yep. Hard to top that. All right. Sides with the steak too, or just the steak?
Yeah, I could go with some roasted potatoes on the side.
Like it. All right. What is your least mainstream hobby? Let's, to the extent that you have time for hobbies as an early founder.
Well, I talked about the drone project early. I like building electronics. I don't have much time to do it anymore, but when I was on my break, I built myself a clock that would set itself.
Oh, that's awesome. That actually, listen, I clearly don't have anywhere near that skill set, but I think that would be a pretty fun one to have. It's just dreaming up fun little things to build for yourself. Awesome. All right. Next. So you have a table for 4 for dinner, access to any person, living or dead. Who do you invite with your other 3 seats?
I'd like to talk to George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and Abraham Lincoln.
Oh, good.
And bring them into the future, or the present, I should say, their future, and just ask them how they think it all turned out. Because I think that would be fascinating.
I think, you might be, if you went upwards through history, they'd kind of be up and down and be like, yeah, this seems like it's going pretty well. And then you get to the last 10 years and 20 years. Anyway, they might be horrified. Those are good. I like that. All right. So you can go back in time and witness one historical event in person. What do you pick?
Washington crossing the Delaware.
Oh, good one. I like that. All right. Hopefully with the modern coat.
Hopefully, although the guys who did it had no shoes in some cases.
Right. And they had those ridiculous shirts with the ruffly things and then not built for the weather. All right. You're on a desert island. You can bring music from 4 artists or bands. Who do you pick?
Ooh, AC/DC.
Love it.
Bon Jovi.
Oh, that's good.
Rolling Stones. And geez, it's tough for that 4th one. Beethoven.
Wow. All right. Some good range there. You and I might have had the most overlap of anybody I've done so far, but to go back and look. Good choices though. All right. Same question with movies and or TV series that you can bring with you.
Well, Star Trek, original series and Next Generation.
Wow. Okay. So we're talking like Shatner in the 70s. Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. I get 4.
Yeah. We'll count that as 1, by the way.
Okay. All right. In terms of movies, Master and Commander.
Really?
With Russell Crowe.
Yeah. No, I remember the movie. I haven't met that many, really passionate fans of it, but
I'd also add The Rock.
Oh, that
got to have some,
now we're talking. That one you never get bored with. Yeah.
And then the original Bad Boys.
Nice. The Will Smith and Martin Lawrence. Yeah. Yeah. Very good choices. All right. Still on the desert island concept here. You get to keep 1 Twitter follow. So it can either be pick your Twitter follow or, Twitter's a cesspool, and why would I want that on a desert island?
I'd probably go more with that.
Yeah.
If I'm going to be freed, I'll be free of Twitter.
That is a popular answer. Not surprising. Would you want to bring any social media platform? If you could pick one, were there any that you would be interested in having on your island?
I don't know if you count YouTube.
No, go for it.
I'd say YouTube just because you do have the prospect of learning enough about how to escape from the desert island if you watch enough videos about boat building or, how to provision your, stock up on food or make some sort of rainwater collector out
That's pretty well. I was going to say not just escaping, but actually, basic survival skills that I think none of us have in 2022.
Yeah, I've learned a ton of random skills from YouTube, so I would say that one's
I like it. That's a good one.
Practical.
All right. Very last question. Same desert island. You can bring 1 C2B general partner. Keep in mind, you might be stuck there one.
Jeez. Well, Matt, I've spent the most time with you, so I think, and we seem to have the similar taste in music. So why don't you come along for the?
I appreciate that, Steve. It's an unfair question. Most people feel obligated to say me, but I did have one go the other way.
He didn't get the next round funded. So.
Chris would be miserable without social media, so you don't want him on that. Awesome
building.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Steve, very much appreciate it. Thanks for joining me.
All right, thanks, Matt. It was fun.